Department stores. Shopping malls in the US were once known for their massive department stores, endless fast food courts, and as a Friday night hangout for teens. But with the rise of online retailers and the demise of the department store, it is a challenging time to be a mall owner. In November 2020, two mall owners, CBL and Associates, in Pennsylvania real estate...
There's something that I never understood. When I was young, people sometimes, if they wanted to hang out for the weekend, they would go to the mall. But I never went to the mall with any of my friends ever, because I didn't understand it. What was the point to go to the mall when you're broke? Everyone was broke at the time, but everyone went to the mall. Bitch, I was broke. I never wanted to go to the mall because I was broke, but I don't get it though.
Investment Trust filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection after facing increased pressure due to COVID-19. And according to a 2020 study, 25% of U.S. malls are expected to close permanently within the next 5 years.
I think COVID really accelerated trends that were already at play prior to the pandemic.
Just walk around.
Retailers closing stores, retail bankruptcies. Retailers were looking for ways to renegotiate leases or pay less in rent.
There are going to be malls that fail, and they're going to be vacant spaces. What happens to them into the future? I just know in the Syracuse area, we have one,
and like
the county just purchased it. I don't know what the plans are, but it's a lot of empty space and a lot of parking spaces sitting there doing nothing.
Prior to COVID-19, with consumers craving experiences over traditional brick-and-mortar retail shopping, malls were forced to pivot, offering everything from fine dining to indoor ski slopes. But the pandemic has exacerbated the challenges at malls as social distancing has placed restrictions on stores, movie theaters, and restaurants.
You will see more malls closed, you'll see more shopping centers closed, but what you'll see is the winners continue to emerge.
Malls are also a huge tax driver for the communities they serve and employ a lot of people locally. So what will become of malls in America after the pandemic ends?
Disappear.
Malls in the U.S. took root at the end of World War II alongside the growth of the suburbs. In the 1950s, a booming economy helped.
This, when you guys say boomers, this is what you're referring to. Legitimate boomers. But nobody uses boomers the right way.
A large segment of the population increased their prosperity, allowing many Americans to purchase a new home and car. Aided by a series of government initiatives like the Veterans Administration Home Loan Program and the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956, a significant slice of the country was turning their back on cities and heading to the suburbs. Austrian-born architect Victor Gruen, the man who many credit with later helping to provide those newly minted suburbanites with a place to mingle and shop, saw an opportunity. Gruen emigrated to the U.S. following Germany's 1938 annexation of Austria. Once in the U.S., he established himself in the world of shop design by refurbishing retailers, including at least one store on New York's Fifth Avenue. In 1954, Gruen's design of the Northland Center outside of Detroit, Michigan debuted, making it one of the largest open-air shopping facilities in the U.S.
That's pretty cool, though.
Gruen,
Looks pretty
opposed
cool.
to the country's growing reliance on the automobile, wanted to create an atmosphere similar to his native Vienna, with streets sprinkled with cafes.
If things lagging for the chat, guys, it's not my fault. Okay, guys, it's not. Look. I have 0 dropped frames and I'm at max bitrate, 8,000 per second. This is my issue now. This is my internet. This is Twitch. I can't do anything, dude.
Commerce. In 1956, his design of the Southdale Shopping Center opened in Edina, Minnesota. The fully enclosed mall had a 2-level design featuring 72 stores and anchored by 2 major department stores. The space also had 5,000 parking spaces and central air conditioning. The modern mall was born.
You'd load up in a station wagon and you drive to the mall, and everybody in the family would get that one thing they needed while the family was there.
That's
More than
cool.
40,000 people attended Southdale's opening day. The venue was largely considered a success and was soon replicated across the country. By 1960, there were 4,500 large shopping centers in the U.S. By 1987, malls and shopping complexes accounted for over 50% of all U.S. retail sales.
Boy, that's
and they were
crazy.
becoming part of pop culture too, used as a backdrop for movies like Back to the Future, Mallrats, and Terminator 2, and even as a springboard for musical acts. And malls were getting bigger. In 1992, the Mall of America...
Wait, is this a quad decker? That's insane. 1, 2... 4.
And malls were getting bigger. In 1992, the Mall of America, the largest mall in the US, opened, adding attractions like roller coasters and an aquarium.
That looks
but
fun.
the explosion of new construction was beginning to weigh on some locations.
From about 1975 to 2016, retail space capacity, in many cases in malls, multiplied by 4 times the rate of population growth in the United States. So in 2016, every single person in the United States had 24.6 or so square feet of retail space that could just be theirs.
The rise of big box stores like Walmart, discount retailers like Home Goods, and the transition to e-commerce weighed on malls too.
This has been the narrative for
Walmart's
years
fault,
now,
too.
that we really got to a point where we're overbuilt. We have too much retail space in the country. Now that retailers are growing more of their business online, inevitably that means, they don't need as many stores. So we've seen those store closures.
By 2017, there were roughly 1,200 indoor shopping malls in the US.
And yet, if you look at retail pre and post the credit crisis, before the credit crisis, people used to walk around in t-shirts that say, I way overpaid for this t-shirt. Suddenly, after the credit crisis, they were all going for these things, the phones, spending thousands of dollars on a phone that they used to get for free. So the point is that people changed their shopping habits, and what needed to happen for the malls is that they needed to evolve as well.
According to a 2020 IBIS World Industry Report, the shopping mall management industry in the U.S. is an $18.3 billion business and includes companies like Simon Property Group, Brookfield Property Partners, and Macerich.
I don't know
In
what any of
general,
this shit is.
landlords like Simon make their money from rental income and property management fees. Of the roughly 1,100 malls in the U.S., about 250 are considered Class A malls, the top performers that bring in the most sales per square foot. About 380 are considered B malls, a little
I
more
get
than
it.
300
So they have the place, right? And then they kind of like take rent
are
for people who have
categorized
businesses
as
in it and
C malls,
whatnot.
and the remainder are D quality or lower.
And they manage
that
it?
could be on their way out of existence. Like a number
Interesting.
of their retail tenants, the coronavirus pandemic has had a devastating impact on U.S. malls. CBL and Associates has a portfolio of about 100 properties across 26 states, including a number of B and C rated malls. The company said, with tenants not paying
I feel
rent
like
and others delaying payment, it was forced to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in November 2020. Pennsylvania Real Estate
That sucks.
Investment Trust, which owns and operates over 22 million square feet of retail space in the eastern half of the U.S., filed for bankruptcy protection that same day. Simon Property Group, the biggest mall owner in the country and the largest operator of A-rated malls, including the King of Prussia in Pennsylvania and Roosevelt Field in New York, also saw a steep drop in
Look how
revenue
many cars,
after
man.
some retailers skipped out on rent payments. In the fourth quarter of 2020, the company had total revenue of $1.1 billion, down 24% from the previous year. But a healthy balance sheet and a portfolio of desirable locations helped Simon fight back.
Retailers deemed non-essential, their stores were
surprising.
forced to shut. And a lot of retailers thought, okay, well, I can't pay rent, or I'm not going to pay rent if I'm not operating this store. And so these mall owners, like Simon, like Macerich, they still have obligations on their end to meet. They have bills to pay. They have loans that, are...
All right, chat, I got the point of the video. Chat, I'm actually going to go next. Because it's not that I'm ADG today, chat. I just want to, it's good. Because I get the point, though. It was a good video. I enjoyed it.